We were sitting with the sound turned down low, the kind of night where nothing looks dramatic on the surface. Just a table, a few plates, a family moving around each other like clockwork. Some stories begin with shouting. This one begins with a sentence that landed and simply dissolved. Avery Collins isn't fragile. That's why it was so easy for everyone to overlook the cost of her being the easy one. She did what people tell you to do when you want to be seen. She spoke plainly, more than once, and waited for it to matter. This is where the shift begins. My mom had her phone in one hand and the salt shaker in the other. My dad was half watching a game on mute, half scrolling his own screen. My sister, Megan, was cutting meat for her toddler, moving with that frantic energy she always carried. My brother, Ethan, was leaning back, thumbs flying across his controller. I waited for a gap, not a big one, just a crack in the noise. I accepted a lead software engineering role in Denver. I said, "I'm moving in early June." My mom slid the salt across the table without lifting her eyes. "Okay, honey." My dad nodded once, as if I'd announced I was switching shampoo brands. "Drive safe when you do." Megan smiled in my direction, quick and automatic. "That's nice." "Ave." Ethan made a small grunt that could have meant anything. I sat there, fork frozen in mid-air. The food smelled good. The room felt normal. My chest did that quiet, aching thing it does when I realize I'm alone in a room full of people. "I'm serious," I added, my voice firmer. "I've already signed the lease." My mom's screen lit up her face, reflecting in her glasses. Pass the napkins. No follow-up, nowhere in Denver. No we'll miss you, nothing that made my departure real. I heard myself giving them details anyway, trying to talk them into caring. It's a major firm. Better pay. I'll be managing their core systems. I'm ready for the change. My dad glanced up for half a second. "Good for you, kid." Then the conversation slid right around me, flowing back to Megan's preschool drama and Ethan's plans. The room stayed calm. That was the point. Nothing broke, because I was the only one bending. I swallowed, set my fork down, and let the silence sit there. Later, I'd send the details to the group chat. I wanted to give them every chance to notice. I didn't bring it up again that night. I cleared my plate, stacked it with the others, and carried it to the sink. My mom rinsed without looking at me. "Long drive," she murmured, like an afterthought. "Make sure your tires are good. I already checked." I answered. She nodded, still focused on the faucet. After dinner, Megan packed leftovers into plastic containers. "Take some," she offered, pushing one toward me. "You'll forget to eat." "I won't," I said. She smiled anyway, the kind that closes a topic. This wasn't new. I'd been living on my own for years, tucked into a one-bedroom that stayed quiet most nights. When work got heavy, I'd disappear into it. Days blurred, sometimes weeks. My family got used to that version of me, the one who didn't need much, who didn't ask. When I moved out the first time, my dad helped carry a box down the stairs. "Text us when you're settled," he said. I did. No one replied. It didn't register as a problem then. It felt normal. At work, people noticed things. My manager leaned into my cubicle one afternoon. "You've been quiet today. Everything okay?" I told him I was fine. He nodded, then followed up the next day anyway. At home, quiet meant fine. A few days after dinner, I called my mom. "I'm putting in my notice tomorrow." "That's soon," she said, flipping pages. I could hear paper. "Coupons. Maybe." "I told you the timeline." "Right," she said. "Well, just be careful." I waited for more. It didn't come. I sent the message in the family chat later that night. Dates, city, a short line about being excited and nervous. The typing bubbles never appeared. Ethan posted a photo of his new headset an hour later. Megan reacted with a thumbs up to his post. Nothing on mine. I set my phone face down on the table and went back to packing. I tried once more in person because part of me still believed proximity mattered. It was a Saturday afternoon, the kind that feels borrowed. My mom was folding laundry on the couch, stacks leaning slightly to one side. I sat on the armchair across from her, keys warm in my palm. "I wanted to tell you again." I began, slower this time. "I'm moving in early June. I've already signed." She paired socks without looking up. "I'll be in Denver. I'll be driving out over 2 days. That's a lot of road." She replied, "Drink water." "I will." She folded a towel, pressed it flat, set it on the pile. The television murmured behind her. A commercial. "Something cheerful. This isn't a trial run." I added, "I'm not coming back in a month." She finally glanced up, not startled, just mildly curious. "You've always liked your space. I like being seen too." Her eyes dropped back to the laundry. "Of course you do." I waited. The moment passed. Later that week, I brought it up again, this time with everyone around. Megan was there with her kid. Ethan was stretched out on the floor, controller in hand. My dad hovered near the doorway. "I'm setting my moving date." I said, "I'll be gone the first week of June." My dad nodded. "Traffic's bad that time of year." Megan smiled politely. "Send pictures when you get there." Ethan didn't look up. "Denver's cool." That was it. The third time. I stopped trying to soften it. I sent a message in the family chat. Short, clear. Dates spelled out. City spelled out. A line about being proud of myself. The message sat there, untouched. An hour later, Megan sent a picture of her kid holding a crayon drawing. My dad reacted with a heart. Ethan replied with a joke. I stared at the screen longer than I meant to. Then I turned the phone face down and slid it into a drawer. That night, I started packing the things I cared about. Not everything, just the parts of my life that felt like mine. I left before the sun came up. The car was already packed. Boxes stacked low enough that I could still see out the back window. The trunk clicked shut louder than I expected. I stood there for a second with my hand on it, keys dangling, listening to the house breathe behind me. The kitchen light flicked on. My dad stepped out in socks, rubbing one eye. Heading out now. His voice was quiet, careful not to wake anyone. Yeah, wanted to beat traffic. He nodded and glanced at the car. You've got everything I think so. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. For a moment, I thought he might say something else. Instead, he cleared his throat. Drive safe. He added, text when you stop for the night. I will. He paused, then reached out and squeezed my shoulder. Not a hug, just pressure. Take care of yourself. I always do. The front door closed softly behind him. No one else came out. No footsteps. No voices drifting down the hallway. I slid into the driver's seat and adjusted the mirror. The street looked the same as it always had. Parked cars, a porch light still on across the way. Ordinary. I pulled away, slow, like if I moved gently enough, something might change. It didn't. At the end of the block, I stopped at the sign and checked my phone. No new messages. I set it face down in the cup holder and took a breath. By the time the highway opened up, the house was already gone from view. The road stretched forward, empty and quiet. I turned up the radio just enough to fill the space and kept driving. The first month in Denver moved fast in small ways. Unpacking after work, learning which grocery store stayed open late, figuring out how early I had to leave to beat traffic on weekdays. I sent a photo of my apartment to the family chat the second week. Just the living room, a plant by the window. Nothing fancy, no responses. At work, people noticed me. On my third day, my team lead leaned over my desk. You settling in okay? He waited for the answer. Didn't multitask through it. Yeah, I told him. It's good here. Glad to hear it. We're grabbing lunch later if you want to join. I went. We talked about code, hiking trails, bad takeout, normal things. When I got back to my desk, my phone was still quiet. I stopped checking after that. Weeks passed. My birthday came and went. I ordered takeout, ate on the floor because my table hadn't arrived yet. I didn't mention it to anyone, not at home, not at work. It felt easier that way. One night, I posted a photo from a trail just outside the city. Sun low, my shadow long. Megan liked it. No comment. My mom didn't react at all. I stared at the screen for a moment, then locked the phone and set it aside. The silence wasn't heavy. That surprised me. It felt clean. No missed calls, no last-minute favors, no explaining myself. I filled my weekends with small plans, coffee with coworkers, long walks, grocery lists that only needed to account for me. Sometimes, late at night, I'd think about calling home. The thought would rise, hover, then pass. The quiet stayed, and for the first time in a long while, it didn't feel like punishment. The text came in on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reheating soup in the office break room. Megan's name lit up my phone, appearing with the same casual demand she'd used for years. "Hey, can you swing by Mom's later and pick up her prescription? She's out and the pharmacy closes early." I stared at the screen long enough for the microwave to beep twice, the sound echoing against the tile. I turned it off without opening the door. "I'm in Denver." I typed back. The typing dots appeared, stopped, appeared again. "What do you mean you're in Denver?" I moved. I wrote. "I've been here for a long time now." There was a pause that felt physical, a heavy silence stretching across the miles. "That's not funny." "Ave," she sent. "I'm serious. Mom needs her meds." "So am I." My thumb hovered over the glass, then kept going. I told everyone, more than once. I sent the address to the group chat. Another long pause. Then, "Wait. You're not joking. You're actually living there." I leaned against the counter and let my head rest against the cool surface of the vending machine. "Yes." The dots flickered again. This time they stayed for nearly a minute. "Oh," she finally wrote. "I thought you meant, like, a temporary project, a work trip. I live here. Megan. I have a job, a lease, and a life." Since when I glanced at the calendar on the break room wall, counting the empty spaces where they should have been. 10 months. Nothing came back right away. I imagined her sitting in her car or at her kitchen table, frantically scrolling up through our text history, trying to place me in a memory she had never bothered to store. "Wow," she wrote at last. "Why didn't you tell anyone?" I felt a bitter laugh catch in my throat. Not relief, just a cold recognition. I did. I answered, 6 different times, in person and in writing. She didn't reply to that. We noticed how the silence shifted then. This wasn't the easy quiet of the past, the silence of Avery being fine. This one had the weight of a ghost appearing in broad daylight. A minute later, one final message came through. "I really didn't know. We've just been so busy with the kids. Ave." I set the phone down and finally opened the microwave. The soup had bubbled over the edge of the bowl, staining the glass tray. I wiped it up with a paper towel, slow and careful, watching the red liquid soak into the white paper. From the outside, they would call this a misunderstanding, but standing there, I understood the truth I'd been avoiding. They hadn't missed me. They had only missed the convenience of my shadow. My mom called that evening. I almost didn't answer. I watched the phone buzz across my desk, the screen lighting up with her name, dimming, then lighting again. It felt like an intrusion into the quiet life I had fought so hard to build. On the 3rd ring, I picked up. "Where are you?" "Avery." Her voice came in sharp, already tight with that familiar edge of maternal authority. "At home," I said, looking out at the Denver skyline. There was a short, disbelieving laugh. "No, I mean, where are you actually? Your sister said you told her some ridiculous story about Colorado. It's not a story. I'm in Denver. That's enough, she snapped. You missed Lily's birthday today. We all waited. Megan had to explain to a 4-year-old why her aunt didn't show up. Everyone was asking where you were. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. I didn't miss it. Mom, I wasn't invited, and even if I were, I don't live in the same time zone anymore. A beat of heavy silence. Then, louder. Since when? Since early June. 10 months ago. That's impossible. I heard papers shuffling on her end, likely the mail she was multitasking through even now. You would have told us. I'm your mother, Avery. I did tell you. 6 times, to be exact. No, you didn't. I did, I repeated, my voice dropping an octave, becoming dangerously slow. I told you at Sunday dinner. I told you in your living room while you were folding laundry. I sent the address and my move-in date to the family chat. I even called you the morning I hit the road. The silence stretched. I could hear her breathing quick, uneven, the sound of a mind frantically trying to find a loophole. Well, she said finally, her voice defensive, I don't remember any of that. If you were actually serious about moving halfway across the country, you should have made it clearer. Something in me went still, not angry, just focused. The kind of clarity that only comes when you realize the person you're talking to isn't just distracted, they're choosing not to see you. I gave you my new address. Mom, I told you the city. I told you I was taking a lead engineering role. You could have made an effort. She pushed back. You could have made sure we understood. I did call, I reminded her. The day I left, I told you I was starting the 2-day drive. Do you know what you said? You told me to drink plenty of water and hung up to check your grocery list. She exhaled, a sharp, hissed sound. You're being unfair. You're twisting things. I moved to another state, I said, the words landing like stones in a well, and no one noticed for 10 months. You only noticed today because you needed me to be a background character at a birthday party and I wasn't there to fill the seat. That's hurtful. Avery, it's accurate. Her breath caught. You make it sound like we don't care about you. I'm saying you didn't pay attention. There's a difference, though the result feels exactly the same. A long pause. Then, much quieter. We've been busy. Megan's kids, Ethan's job hunt. Life gets away from us. I've been busy too. I said, I built a life here. I got promoted. I hike every weekend. I'm happy. And not once in 10 months did anyone ask how that life was going. She sighed, sounding tired now, the fight leaking out of her. Why are you being so hostile? I'm not being hostile. I'm just done covering for the silence. On the other end, I heard a chair scraping against the floor. Your sister is very upset. She feels like you're blaming her for your lack of communication. I'm not blaming her. I'm holding up a mirror. Another pause. This one lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. When she spoke again, her voice was small, stripped of its sharpness. When was your birthday, honey? I closed my eyes, feeling a ghost of the loneliness I'd felt in mid-July. July 17th. 4 months after I moved. A soft, broken sound escaped her. Oh, yeah, I said quietly. That's what I mean. The line stayed open. A vast, empty space between us. Finally, she whispered, I need to go. Okay. She hung up first. I sat in the dim light of my office, the hum of the city outside my window feeling more like home than that house ever had. Nothing was resolved, but the truth was finally out in the open, and it was far too heavy to ignore anymore. My dad waited almost 2 months after the fallout before calling. By then, the edges of the wound had dulled a little, not healed, just less jagged. His name showed up on my screen while I was walking back from lunch in downtown Denver. I answered before I could talk myself out of it. Hey, kiddo. His voice sounded older, slower than I remembered. Hi, Dad. He cleared his throat, the sound of a man looking for a way to bridge a 1,000-mile gap. Your mom's been having a rough time. She's not sleeping. A pause. Neither am I. Honestly. I leaned against my car, watching the mountain sun glint off the windshields. What do you want to talk about? Dad, I want to talk about us missing it. About the year we lost because we weren't looking. The words landed carefully, like he was setting something fragile on a high shelf. We should have paid more attention. I should have. I'm not asking for a grand speech. I said, my voice steady. I just needed you to acknowledge that I was standing right in front of you, telling you I was leaving, and you let me walk out the door without a word. I hear you, he replied. I didn't before, and that's a failure I have to live with. After we hung up, Megan sent a message. It was a wall of text, defensive, rambling. She talked about the kids' schedules and how dramatic I was being by counting the months. I didn't argue. I typed back 3 lines. I'm taking space. I need it to stay whole. I'll reach out when I'm ready. I blocked her number after that. It wasn't an act of war. It was an act of triage. A week later, my dad called again. This time, he didn't lead with Mom's feelings. I'm proud of you, Ave, for the life you've built there, for not shrinking just because we didn't see you. Thanks, Dad. We're trying, he added. I know it doesn't fix the 10 months of silence. No, I agreed. It doesn't. But it's a start. By the end of that year, the dynamics shifted. A recruiter reached out with a position that felt like the final piece of the puzzle, engineering director in Seattle. It was a massive leap, a role that demanded I be seen. I called my father first. I told him about the promotion, the move, in the new city. This time, there was no talk of tires or water. He listened. He asked about the team I'd be leading. As I packed my Denver apartment into a much larger truck, I realized I wasn't running away anymore. I was moving forward. I sent the new address to the group chat. My mom replied within minutes, Seattle. We've pinned it on the map. We'll be there whenever you're ready for guests. I didn't reply immediately, but I didn't delete the message either. For the first time, I was the one holding the map. Seattle felt different, higher, brighter. As an engineering director, my days were filled with voices seeking my guidance, but it was the silence of my new apartment that I cherished most. I unpacked slowly, savoring the space. When I finally sent my parents the new address, my mom's reply was immediate. Got it. Thank you for trusting us with this one. A week before my official start date, an envelope arrived. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a handwritten note from both of them. For your new adventure. We are so incredibly proud of the choices you've made. It wasn't about the money. It was the first time they had invested in my life without being prompted by a crisis. On Sundays, the phone rings at 10 a.m. Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I let it go to voicemail. When we do talk, my dad asks about my team, and my mom actually listens to the details of my week. I don't feel invisible anymore. Not because they became perfect, but because I stopped shrinking to fit the gaps they left. I built a life that notices me first. Avery Collins doesn't disappear quietly now. She chooses where she shows up. I'm no longer a ghost in their house. They are guests in my life. And that has made all the difference.